Islam Makhachev is going into UFC 280 with the most confidence of his career, and he's sure that this is going to be a quick fight. Let's check it out. Islam's game plan for his fight with Charles Oliveira is simple. Knock him down and finish things quick. Islam stated, his last 3 or 4 opponents, they knock him down and nobody goes to grappling. Nobody tried to finish him there. Nobody tried to do some ground and pound. That's why nobody from these opponents could stop him. But I'm not scared of his jiu-jitsu skills because I have good skills in sambo and grappling and will give him a hard time in striking. That's why I'm going to kick him down and try to finish him, because this guy has most finishes in the UFC. My goal is I have to finish him. I'm going to take his record. Charles is very dangerous. He always finishes his opponent, and he's dangerous in the striking and on the ground. But I believe in my skills. I'm ready for the fight standing up or on the ground. It doesn't matter. I don't think this is the biggest test of my career. Maybe I've beat some guy who has more skills, but right now he's the champion. And right now at this moment in his career, because he has a good win streak, he had many losses before and he finished all his opponents. He feels like nobody can stop him. But October 22nd, I'm going to come to the cage and stop him there. His confidence comes through in his recent interviews with Daniel Cormier as well.
Charles is an opponent. Talk to me about the challenge that you face in Abu Dhabi.
Charles is very good, you know, he have good win streak, he beat a lot of tough opponents, but, you know, for me this is embarrassing when UFC lightweight champion asks someone like Nate Diaz or Conor McGregor who win like 5 years ago. Nobody remember when these guys both or Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor win some fight. He know Islam Makhachev very hard fight for me.
Listen, we all know how difficult of a fight this is going to be for Charles Oliveira. But when I watch Charles Oliveira, I've seen his game continue to grow, continue to progress, get better as a striker. He's shown so much power.
He's all striker. I'm gonna take him down very, very fast. Listen, he finished all his opponent, brother, and his all opponent striking. But Tony Ferguson have little bit grappling, he cannot finish him.
You really believe you're gonna smash this guy?
Of course, I really believe, because brother, he lose in the UFC 7 times, brother. He's not gonna upset if he lose one more time.
Islam.
And this guy champion in my division. I'm very upset because.
So what you're saying is this: Islam Makhachev at the Abu Dhabi will be the lightweight champion of the world. There's no doubt, guaranteed.
Islam Makhachev is gonna be new lightweight champion in Abu Dhabi, and Islam gonna beat all these guys who's gonna put in front of him. Doesn't matter who is next.
Yet Daniel Cormier doesn't seem too sure about Islam's chances. DC stated, I know intimately. I know that in the camp Islam is focused on all that Charles brings and he recognizes that. Very wary of that. Does that mean he'll win the fight? I don't know. I'm telling you right now, this is the first time in a long time that I felt as unsure about a fight Islam is going into than I am for this one. Well, DC isn't too sure on Islam's chances. It seems that Charles' coach isn't taking any chances. He stated, Charles' adversary Islam Makhachev is very good at wrestling. I think even better than Khabib, which is another athlete from Dagestan. He is better certainly, of course, because he is a wrestler. Khabib isn't. Khabib is a sambo fighter. Islam has also done sambo, but he's a wrestler first and then a sambo fighter and then an MMA fighter. We are working in all techniques, but I really don't think Islam will take him down. In case he takes Charles down, it will not be so easy to stabilize him like other opponents he faced. Charles submitting Makhachev in the second round or winning via decision. He concluded with the utmost confidence. Someone else who seems to be stirring the pot recently is Michael Chandler, who can't believe that Islam is the favorite fighter going into UFC 280.
12, I think I'm the next guy in line. I fight Islam or Oliveira first quarter of next year or summer of next year, whenever that fight materializes, and I'm your world champion by middle of next year.
Who do you think wins that fight?
I think Charles wins that fight. I
Wow.
think it's crazy that Islam is a favorite. You know, I would say aside from Charles Oliveira not making weight in the last fight, which was obviously unprofessional. I think even he would admit that, and it's not indicative of champion, the way a champion carries himself. It's tough to make weight at times, and he missed it. But aside from that, man, the guy has looked. He's looked very, very good. Finishing guys. His hands have come along a long, long way in just his overall confidence. You know, the overall confidence that Charles Oliveira has now compared to, you know, a couple of years ago when he was, as I've said before, somewhat of looking at becoming somewhat of a journeyman, up and down, could not be relied upon to have it put together and string together good performances. He has now turned that ship, righted that ship and turned it around. And he's our champion. Well, not technically our champion, but he's in everybody's eyes, our champion for a reason. I think he goes out there and beats Islam handedly.
Nothing against Islam, like you said. You know, you say he's great. You say he looks unbeatable at times, but dadgum, he hasn't really fought anybody. You know, that's really the truth. He beat number 14, and then he beat Dan Hooker, who was on a 3 or 4 fight losing streak. And now people will say, well, one of your wins was against Dan Hooker, so, you know, what are you talking about? I fought Dan Hooker at a different time. He had just went 25 minutes with Dustin Poirier, who at that time was the number 2 lightweight on the entire planet, you know? So I just think Islam's strengths are also Charles's strengths, and Charles' striking is better. And I think Charles is more skilled. You know, I think if Islam can go out there and he actually is that strong, he actually is that dominant with position, then you know, Charles is going to have a long night. But I think Charles is just too slick, too good, and he's going to give him fits on the feet, and it's going to be hard to take Charles, or it won't be hard to take Charles down, but I think Charles wins the grappling exchanges.
Islam's response to Michael was rather upfront as well. Islam stated, he hasn't really fought anybody, that's really the truth. On top of that, he tweeted, haha, your only 2 win in UFC is Hooker, who came out of loss, and Tony, who has 5 losses in a row now. Please shut up and stay in line. It doesn't seem to matter what they all think though, because Charles has his own plan for handling Islam. Charles stated, he'll try to take me down not through my legs, but through my hips. He'll try to take me down and nullify my legs. He won't come dying to submit me, but rather to wear me out. But man, like I said, I'm not worried about what Makhachev can bring. I'm worried about what Charles can take there. You can be sure it won't go past the first round. So the team is setting up my strategy. I'll be moving forward all the time, as I said. I have firepower in my hands. If you look at my last opponents, that's what they're talking about, the firepower in my hands. And my jiu-jitsu you know very well. Meanwhile, Sean O'Malley can't seem to get on the Islam Makhachev train. He hopes for a Charles win. Sean stated, I see Charles Oliveira marching out there with that high front knee doing his thing. Honestly, I haven't watched a ton of Islam. More of a little bit of his recent stuff, but it's crazy how hyped up he is. Literally because Khabib says how good he is. Obviously, he's went out there and performed really well in his last couple of fights too, but we're so excited about this guy. We're not super hyped because of all the crazy performances he's had. It's more so just because Khabib thinks this guy is the best in the world. I would love to see Charles go out there and get the job done. Islam hopes to put everyone's doubts behind him going into this upcoming fight, and he has a plan to make that happen. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more crazy fight news and updates.